Here we I don't know, man. We're not mentally prepared for this today. I'm going to cover up the camera so we're not tempted to look at ourselves. That way we look up at the square. We're not mentally prepared for this today. As a disclaimer, last video had much better video and audio quality. And the reason why this sucks ass is because we procrastinated for a really long time. So we didn't have time to do the whole shebang and like do our setup and everything. So we're just doing this on the laptop. Like
Plus, our actual setup's located in her garage, and today we're at my house, so
yeah,
it's easier to bring a laptop.
And just with how everything worked out today and our schedules, it worked out better for me to just come over and for us to do a little quick thingy.
Hi, Murphy.
We have to show the cat. There's a cat. So yeah. I think you go.
Okay. Wait.
We're not mentally prepared for this. No, I was gonna say today we could do a little quick thing. I have a couple of topics to talk about, but nothing crazy. So I figured we could do a little 30-40 minute thing just to get ourselves back on track.
Sandwich.
Her cat's trying to eat her sandwich.
She keeps farting. It's horrible.
Yep. She's a drive-byer, for sure. No, but I figured we could just do a little 30-40 minute thing because we got shit to do today. I've got a desk coming from Amazon. Super hyped about it. Today. You ain't got shit. I have shit to do today. I have to go to work.
I have to pay first month's rent, and I probably need to go get food.
True. I need to...
Yeah, I've been in this place for a month now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it sounds like we're faking. I feel like it's...
I know, I don't know why we sound so weird.
We didn't the last couple of times. Maybe we're just not used to it.
Backstory today, I, woke up at 8:30 in the morning, stayed up till, 3, and woke up to a note saying, hey, we're replacing your toilet today.
That's another reason why we're in a rush, is because we don't know when her toilet guy's coming.
Yeah, so there's a toilet guy. There are about 50 toilets out in the front of my apartment complex. It looks like toilets are about to attack.
I'm going to take a picture that's going to be the thumbnail of this video. It's just the toilets sitting out front.
The attacking toilets.
When I go to leave, if there's toilets still outside, I'm going to take a picture and we'll do that as the thumbnail for this video.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But,
I'm still in my pajamas. No makeup. Michael is still in and out of consciousness.
But that's okay, because if we can do this before your toilet guy comes and while Michael's unconscious, then we'll get it over with and we'll have it done. Because, what you guys don't know is this is our 4th time doing this, but it's the 3rd time for you, because the last podcast we filmed went really well.
Had no audio,
so we had to scrap it, and that was great. It had half of the audio, but the other half of the audio was gone, and the camera that we were using we did not have the hookup correct, so it just didn't pick up anything. So, for today I said, first we should review podcast number 3 and talk about this redo, what we're going to do. So
Wait, are we rehashing everything from the 3rd?
God no, because now it's not irrelevant. It's not relevant anymore.
We don't want to talk about Pete Davidson's penis?
No, I think we could talk about Pete Davidson's penis, but we tried to talk about Ariana Grande and whether or not we could get engaged after only a couple weeks of dating, and I had all the timeline laid out to make sure we weren't messing up anything, and I made sure that we knew when exactly they were first spotted and all that stuff. But I don't have that today. But I had on there Pete Davidson's penis, and I never explained to you what I meant by that. But apparently she tweeted something about, commenting to somebody about implying that his dick is really big. And there was I don't know if it's a meme or if it's a real tabloid, but there was a meme / thing going around that she had to go to the hospital for a bruised cervix. Which makes me laugh. It's also highly disturbing. Then there was a rumor going around just recently, this last week, that their engagement was off, but I don't think it's true. I like them. I think they're cute. But
I don't care.
Yeah, she doesn't give a shit, but...
I just thought this sentence was funny, Pete Davidson's penis.
I brought it up because I wanted to ask, do you think you could get engaged after a couple weeks of dating? And basically we both said that what we know now about our relationships, sure, but at the time of a couple of weeks in, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Basically,
Like,
yeah.
if we were to go back and it would be this Mazzy going back, I'd be like, sure. But, like, I also have 4 years of experience with the person under my belt now, not 2 weeks or so.
And I have a year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Me and Michael had our anniversary. We had our housewarming. The housewarming went well.
Mm-hmm.
It attracted a lot of bugs into my apartment because nobody knew how to shut a door. But
There's flies in here right now.
I like them.
She
I
likes
like
the flies. She does like the flies.
I think they're cute.
We're not gonna go into why you like flies. And then I had some things about work. What I really want to tell you about, though, is my ghost update. Do you remember my ghost
update?
Remember my ghost?
Did you find the old man again?
Okay, the old man's not a ghost. He's real. The old man from last.
Did you ask him, hey, man, are you a ghost?
No, he came. I saw him because I was doing my work and he was there, and I was like, shit. And then I was like, wait, no, not shit. Good, he's alive. But no, he's a real person. His name's Harvey. He's very sweet. He gave me candy at lunch.
Mazzy's not haunted.
I'm not haunted. The hospital's not haunted. Everything's fine. He's a real person. He just must not work there very often. And then I also put on here tricks you do to get through your work day. Because your Aunt Dava said that she listens to us while she does work. So I was like, oh, let's talk about work. We both work. So it's like, what things do you do to get through the day? And then I also said,
Stare at Michael.
well, you work with your boyfriend. That's different. That doesn't apply to everybody.
Breaks with Michael.
I said new route to work because I went through this weird, like, stage where I was, like, really angry internally, like, at my job. Like, I didn't want to go to work ever, and I was not enjoying it, and that was a good, like, month or two. And then all I did was change how I went to work.
Really?
I did 2 things. I started wearing an undershirt, changed my fucking life. My armpits no longer get rashes from my shirts. That made me feel so much better. And then all I did was change the route that I go to work. Instead of going,
And this impacts your whole work day.
it impacts, dude, I love my job right now. All I did was start wearing undershirts. I almost just said what road I go on, but I don't need to say. Basically, I used to go on this big highway-like road to get to work, and then I've started taking back roads, so it's more scenic. And, like, that route mixed with my undershirt have changed everything.
Oh, yeah. Like, going to work now, like my driving experience is just stressful right now in general because my car sucks. And it's, like, threatening to break down. It's a PT Cruiser that they suck. So that's stressful.
Yeah.
But I do like my route to work a lot better, except for the fact, because it's on back roads, and I see a lot of roadkill. And it makes me sad.
I do think that, I mean, after working...
Me and Megan saw a cat die, and ever since then, I don't like my route to work.
I don't know, that's not funny.
The cat's still there.
Really?
It makes me sad, and I can't. That's the thing, too. People are sad about seeing roadkill, but then you don't want to go do anything with the roadkill because it's dead and stinky.
Yeah.
And gross. And so nobody does anything with it. And then you continue to be sad because nobody is man enough to go move the roadkill.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, that is the harder part of, I guess, taking more back roads to work. But I do think that, like, after working somewhere for 6 months even, to a year, like, you just get bored of the way you go. So it's good to change it up and it makes you feel better about it. But, like, I envy people who can just be like, oh, I'm gonna go to work today, and they go and then they come home and they're like, oh, I'm done with work. Like, it's not constantly being thought of, because the whole time that I was working, I'd be like, it's not the thought of I could be doing something else, it's constantly the thought of being like, remember why you're doing this, remember the money, remember, like, don't, like, get too stressed out. And I think that's because I work somewhere that's, like, there's, like, not really any windows, and, like, you don't really know about the outside world till you leave, so it's like the whole day feels like hours go by without really knowing what's going on.
See, and with my job, working for retail, It's kind of just a lot like high school.
Yeah.
You walk around, see people you know, talk to them every day.
See people from high school if you still work in the same town.
See people from high school sometimes. And
there's drama.
Yeah.
Everyone dates each other.
Okay. I think me and Michael are like the only...
There are people at your job who have babies together, though.
Well, yeah, but we're like the only ones that actually met there. And like, most of them, you know, brought their wives on or brought their girlfriend or boyfriend.
Gotcha.
That's usually how that works. Like, there are target couples, like, I just said where I work, but, I mean, it's
I think we've said it before.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But there are, like, target couples, like, he brought his wife on, and then there's target couples where it's, like, brought her boyfriend. I almost said girlfriend.
I thought you were going to say girlfriend for a second. Man, we're not into this today.
Yeah, the energy is low.
The energy is really low. Maybe we should talk about something other than work. That's all I had written down, but I don't want to talk about work right now. I want to talk about...
Me and Michael finally had our first lazy day in like
well, yeah, because you guys have been moving. That's why no wonder a month has gone by so fast. You guys have been moving and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we've been here a month.
Mm-mm.
What just happened?
I don't know.
Is the toilet guy here?
Toilet guy.
Guys, I'm gonna go check to see if the toilet guy's here.
We'll check the toilet guy.
Toilet guy's not here.
There's no toilet guy. Let me... Man, we're not prepared. This is probably the worst podcast.
Well, see, usually you're prepared, and I just go with whatever.
And I'm not prepared, so now this train is just gonna crash.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not prepared. It's just we planned this yesterday. we were like, we're gonna. Oh wait, I want to cover.
I just got back from like. No, you just got back from the lake. I didn't get back from the lake. But I just got back from a lazy day, and...
I was on a family trip for all weekend, plus some days. So, I was gone for, like, 4 days, and then yesterday Gabby was like, when you get back, we should do something. I was like, okay, so this is really, like, kind of last minute. I have some extra things that I put to talk about. I said... the science behind talents and how we are capable of them, and who gets them in genetic terms. I should have done research on that before talking about it, but what do you think about, like,
what does that mean?
What do you mean, what does that mean? Like a talent. So what's the science behind having a talent? Like, do you think talents can be practiced, or do you think someone just gets it and then...
I think it's a mix. Like, I mean, if you're a singer, you're gonna be given a voice through genetics. Like, you sound just like your mom.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can practice, but at the same extent, there's only so much you can do with your voice. Like, if you just don't have it, you don't have it.
Yeah.
And, like, me, I draw. Like, I do the arts.
That's more what I was thinking of when I wrote that question down. Because in my head, I was like, I can draw, and both my parents can draw, but I don't draw like my parents at all. So it's like, where does that come from? How does that... More so with, like you said, singing, music ability, and drawing, it's like, where does it stop from being a talent you got genetically, and how does it morph into your style? Because, like, I don't draw like my parents do, but both my parents draw. So it's like this, you know.
So, like everybody... I mean, you know, everybody looks like their parents.
Yeah.
Like, you look like both your mom and your dad, but still you look like your own person. Like, you...
At the same time, yeah.
You've made, like you've grown into your own looks.
Well, even with makeup and stuff and fashion, I think you can create your own, identity, and that's what,
And I think it goes the same thing for any talent that you get from your parents. Like, I had... growing up, both my grandpas were artists. Like, all of my aunts are kind of, like, artistic, and my dad can draw, too.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up, I mean, like, I would come into the living room drawing Disney movie cases, and my parents would think I traced them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would do that at like kindergarten age. But I also sat and watched my dad draw a lot, so I wonder if that has
anything to do with
because I used to draw more like my dad, like I had more of his style, and then it slowly became my own thing.
I really never have drawn like my parents. I do, like, I do all like portraiture stuff, and I like to do really hyper realistic stuff. And my dad draws hyper realistic, but he always draws like fantasy things. Like he has this big drawing of a guy melting, and he used to draw like he one time drew.
I don't think I've ever seen your dad's.
Oh,
drawings.
he's really, really good. He can draw hyper realistically like I can, but he does all fantasy stuff. Like one time he drew a hog on a motorcycle and like but it looks real, but it's like it's also cartoony. You know how like mine are like real but cartoony at the same time?
Mhm.
Like my dad has that same element to it because he likes that element to it like I do. But at the same time, he doesn't really draw faces. Like I'm like always have drawn faces. And my mom likes drawing little characters of like she has little notebooks of sketches that she used to do, and she used to draw her friends, but they'd be little character type stuff. So it's like, do those morph together and become the technique, but also the interest of my mom of being like drawing people, but with the technique of my dad, or is it something completely different?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
and you're influenced a lot by all the art you see too. Like a lot of my paintings, I try to emulate like Van Gogh and Kurt Cobain and
yeah, Kurt Cobain was
Salvador
an artist.
Dali,
People
like I those are my favorite paintings.
I feel like a lot of people don't know that Kurt Cobain used to draw and paint.
Yeah, like
he was really actually very good at it.
Yeah, if you look at like a lot of the art on their albums and stuff, it's usually his own stuff.
And Francis,
or his photography.
His daughter Frances Bean paints really well too. I've seen some of her stuff and it's pretty good.
Yeah, she paints more like, I mean, I guess his are kind of abstract too, but
she does do a lot of abstract color.
She does,
stuff.
Yeah, a lot of swirly.
I was really influenced by Chuck Close, so that would explain the faces and stuff. He does all portraiture. I don't know if he's done anything but portraiture, and that alone influenced me a ton as a kid. There's something about capturing the essence of somebody in their face when you draw them that's really satisfying. Like, even if it doesn't look exactly like them, if you can look at the eyes and like know it's somebody, it's like it's always a really satisfying feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. I like pretty much. I'll try any kind of art.
Yeah, no, you spread out more than I do.
Yeah, like I like watercolor. I've always liked. That's like one area where some people are like they love to learn and stuff. Like hated to learn math. Some people love that, but for me, like learning art and trying to push myself as far as art goes has always been kind of like thrilling to me.
Well, and like there are different areas of art.
I created that.
Yeah, there are different areas of art too. Like you have always been a lot more interested in learning new techniques than I was. I was always more interested in learning about the artists themselves and like the history behind, which explains my major. I'm an art history major.
Yeah.
But like I'm not really all that into the creating aspect of it. I really enjoy the history aspect of it. But then that's probably why my technique has never... It branches out. I mean, I've learned new ways to draw portraits, but I've never really gone past that because it's just...
Yeah, you've been always pretty consistently, like, if you look at it, it's like, oh, that's a Mazzy thing.
Yeah.
Me, like, I'll have, like, stuff over there where it's, like,
well,
the real hyper-realistic picture of Rick. And,
remember that...
And then there's the fetus paintings that
yeah,
I did.
Yeah. But remember that one time you drew that really geometric black and white thing? And the girl sitting next to you was like, oh my god, I would love that for a tattoo. And you were like, this is not my style. Like, I was just doing this to see if I could.
Oh, yeah. Like,
it was like something really basic to us.
Yeah, I made a lion.
Yeah.
And I tried to do the lines and stuff.
All connected, right?
Yeah.
And
tried to do really clean lines. And that's usually not me. Like, I like sketching. I really started out, like, just sketching and drawing. And then I moved into, like, watercolor and painting and pen and...
And I remember the thing that made you want to do it is you were like, I think it was somebody in our class, you were like, I wonder if I could do their style. Because everyone had their specific thing and no one would try to
Yeah, try to
Excuse me.
branch out from it.
Branch out from that. So you were like, I want to see if I can do this. And then the girl sitting next to you in class was like, oh my god, I would love that for a tattoo. I love your stuff. And you were like, this isn't even my thing.
I think the reason I did it is because I was going through this period where I was like making these really weird dark paintings, like with, like they had fetuses on them.
When that was when everything was about like abandonment, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going through a lot of issues. And so I really liked like this one painting Kurt Cobain did of a fetus, and I just kind of ran with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing like these grungy like paintings about child abuse and abandonment and like all these dark paintings, and nobody knew how to take them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't know whether they were good or not. And I kind of felt like
I very much enjoyed them because no one knew what to do with them.
Yeah,
that's my
and that's
favorite
why
kind
I
of
like
stuff.
doing them. But then at the same time, I started doubting myself as an artist, and because everybody started treating me like, I don't know, like I always grew up in like knowing that I was the shit, like I was the best one in the class, like I was
the way they would say is they'd be like, oh, there's Gabby, she's painting with her hands again, silly Gabby. Like
yeah, like they kind of treated me like I was like below them, like every class you go into, and like my freshman sophomore year, like my teacher, he would obviously like take the best ones out of the class and sit them all at a table, you know.
Yeah.
So he would pick his favorites and he'd put you at one table, and then the pile over here would be the ones that he didn't deem skilled enough or whatever. And
makes it sound bad. I mean,
he never
Fry was
came out
actually
and said it.
He was a cool teacher, but
yeah, I liked him.
Yeah, but it was obvious that he would do that.
But he treated like kids that like were just kind of like just kind of average.
I think like, it was more like he could tell the kids that were just taking it as a credit, and the kids who were actually liked art. The kids who actually liked art would be on one side of the room, and the kids he didn't really want to deal with, that he knew were doing it as a flop class, he would put over to the side because they thought it'd be easy.
Well, and so that class, and I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, and maybe I may have, but I started feeling like I was being pushed aside, like I was that kid, like I wasn't one of the good ones. So I decided to prove to myself and kind of to other people, like, no, hey, like I can still do shit, like this is just me deciding I want to make weird stuff. But I can still Salvador Dali and draw my ass off if I want to.
Yeah, and I like totally.
And I sat there and did it for a few days and showed people, and they were like,
yeah.
Whoa!
Well, I totally relate to you right now, but I don't. It's like I relate to you because of the.
I sound very egotistical.
No, I relate to you because of the specific story, but I don't know if I want to talk about it because I don't want to sound. It will sound like I'm really being egotistical. But when we're talking about feeling different from the other kids, we were in an AP class, which is a college level class in the high school. So everyone else was the best of the best, and we were grouped in with these people, and even when you're with the best of the best, you can be the worst of the best. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would always do portraits, and I would get compliments. I'm not trying to say that I wouldn't, but I definitely did not get the same amount of attention that the other kids got in my class, and I started noticing it, but I tried to ignore it because I'd be like, I'm just doing my thing. I like to draw faces. Sure, maybe it gets repetitive, but I know what I'm doing. And for your concentration, you did abandonment, and then honestly, my concentration was pretty similar, but I did it centered around myself. Like you
did it more towards like anxiety and feeling
judgment.
Like, yeah.
But it was still about abandonment. Yours was like trying so hard not to put it to yourself because you were like, I want everyone to relate to this. And mine was like, it was literally my face in every picture, which was really weird for me because I'd never drawn myself up until that point. So every piece was myself and something happening. So it was like spiders crawling out of my mouth, and I was always wet. I was always soaking wet because the idea to me is that when you're feeling judgment, you get cleansed. So there were spiders. You're cold. Oh shit. Oh shit. So there were spiders, or I would draw hands pulling on my hair or hands tugging at my skin, just making it so it was slightly uncomfortable, because that's another thing that me and you both like to do. We like creepy shit. So even though this is like a basic portrait that's realistic, I'm going to do it in color and I'm going to do it creepy. Those are two things I haven't really explored. And I had a lot of people in my class who didn't really, it didn't feel like I was the star student, and I never really wanted to be anyway. I don't think you ever wanted to be either, but you can tell. Like, there were other kids in the class who were Pinterest worthy, Tumblr worthy, who did stuff that was very this, and very much were beautiful pieces, but it was things that weren't really us. And we would talk about that, and we would be like, we're okay with them doing their thing, but we would recognize that it wasn't.
Yeah, and that's what bothered me the most. Like, I don't blame our art teacher. Like, I think she actually was trying to get, by doing the concentrations and stuff, I think she was trying to
get every individual kid's idea of what they wanted to do.
And there were some where it was very, like, they were very good, and, like, they did do that. Like, they were individuals. Like, a lot of my class, like, they were. But then there were, like, just a handful where it was very, very good and very,
but it didn't speak to me.
But yeah, it wasn't very, like, real to me. Like, I didn't get any emotion from it. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to.
I want to preface this right now. Being somebody who is an art student in college, this sounds really mean, but this is all that art school is you look at someone's pieces and you tell them exactly what you think about it. And that's what we're saying. We're not trying to, it sounds really mean, and on the internet it's going to sound really mean, because the internet wants to be a free-flowing thing, but in art school this is how harsh it is.
Yeah, and I don't want to...
This is a critique.
People who were in my class, if they're watching right now, like, I'm not putting anybody down. Like, I like, honestly, for the reason it makes everybody feel different.
They probably agree with you. There are probably a lot of people who felt the same, because honestly, what we're sharing maybe isn't even just us, it's just an inside experience. Maybe those kids that I felt like and you felt like were getting so much more attention, maybe they feel like they weren't. I don't know if that's true. But maybe they do. Maybe it's an internal experience, because I was so internally worried about my pieces, and I was always just like feeling like no one was really giving me any recognition for it. But then I was like, fuck that, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And then I got the highest score that you could get on my AP concentration, and then...
I still never found out.
You never checked
I never
yours.
wanted to know, because I wasn't going to be rated by anybody.
I didn't check it until I had to, until my college people were like, we want to know what you got. And I checked it, and I was like, oh my god, I got the highest score. And that was so validating, because I realized this was just an internal thing. My teacher, she wrote me a letter, and I got it, and that was how I knew something happened, because I read the letter, and I was like, I did really well, I'll be really proud of myself, what happened? So then I checked my score, and I was like, oh my god, she knew I was going to do that, but she was preparing me in a way that I wasn't noticing. The reason why she wasn't giving me everything was because I get distracted really easily, and she knew that if she talked to me that I would talk for forever and not work. She knew that if I got a big head about it, I would start going down. Like, I'm one of those people where if you give me a big head, I'll start fucking up.
Have you ever noticed she taught a lot like Dumbledore?
Yes,
she would ignore you when you needed to be ignored.
She'd probably think that was really fun. Oh,
Michael, you're alive!
Michael's awake.
My boyfriend's awake.
He's gonna go pee on the toilet seat now.
You were the one who peed on the toilet seat.
Anyway.
She came here. She had to pee. She peed on my toilet seat. She's a girl. How do you do that?
I'm messy. No, I feel really bad. I feel like we totally just complained about art school for, like...
No, I don't see it as a complaint.
This is an internal struggle. Probably every artist knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, and...
Or anybody who has a thing that they take really personally and try to show it. Maybe you don't get the exact recognition you were expecting.
And as an artist, I value, like, everybody's art. Like, even like, just the the basic line drawings and the I understand to everybody it means something. I don't like it though when people just kind of act arrogant about it, or like they act like it doesn't mean anything to them.
They act arrogant, or they get a bunch of, like, you have two artists. You have one artist who spent a minimal amount of time. I don't want to say minimal amount of time is a bad thing, because I spend 30 minutes on my shit, and it's my best work. I just work really fast. So I'm not saying that people work fast are bad. It's just, let's say someone spent 30 minutes on this tiny little sketch that doesn't really mean anything to them, and they're portraying it as being like the best thing ever, and they're getting that recognition back. That's like what those kids were getting. And then there's this little underdog in the corner who's doing fantastic. Their technique is great. They're working so hard. They're showing progress. There are kids who are showing progress, and they're not getting that same recognition just because this kid is just very talented and inherently good, and their little 30-minute sketch came out so much better, even though this kid's showing progress. That's what bothers me, I guess. Clap for the little underdogs who are working on it.
I mean, some people just like art because they like looking at it, and that's fine. But what I like is art that makes me feel something.
You can
like.
Sorry, I was.
No, like.
I like art that makes me feel something too.
Like I look at Van Gogh's paintings, and I feel sad for him because like he was lonely.
He was a sad, lonely man.
And like, I walked up on one of Van Gogh's paintings for the first time. Like I saw one in person at the Indianapolis Museum, and I just started crying because like the brush strokes and the colors he used, and like you could tell that painting probably meant something to him.
Yeah.
And when you can feel, like, for me, each of my, like, even if it's just a little sketch, I care about it. Like, I don't want to get rid of it. Like, it's my child. And I didn't get that from the other people.
Van Gogh is such a good example. My computer tried to turn off. Van Gogh's such a great example because he was one of those people who... He wasn't doing the same techniques as everybody. Nobody liked him until he died. Yeah, nobody liked him at the time, because at the time everyone was so into hyper-realistic paintings of, you know, couture and elegance and rich, basically. And he was painting fields in this very thick brushstrokes, and it's those kind of underdogs, the kids who are showing progress and showing an individualism, but they aren't getting the recognition because these kids over here are making things that you see all the fucking time everywhere. You could have pulled up an image of blank and find it on the internet, something that looked just like it. That's, I guess, what bothers me.
Yeah. And that was the thing, like, there were two of the in there, which I don't want to discredit them. They are very talented artists, and honestly, I just wish they would have taken more of a, like,
initiative?
Like, not an initiative, like, more of, like, an individualistic, like, approach. And, like, the one artist I'm talking had, she had paintings done of, like she took, like, pictures of her friends and stuff, and people we knew, and she turned them into the planets. And that was cool, and it was very visually pleasing. But I never got attached to her artwork just because when I looked at it, I didn't, like, I was just like, okay, that's pleasing to look at, like, that's very pretty, but it didn't make me want to cry. It didn't make me want, like, to hug somebody, you know.
And I guess as we're saying this, beauty is also in the eye of the beholder. That's the whole basis of art, is that, you know, maybe it's like art is not for everybody, honestly, to look at or even to make. Some people don't like to do it, and some people may not like your stuff, but some people will love your stuff, and that really just is how it is. But I forgot what I was going to say something.
Well, and another, like, there was her, and like I said, beautiful art, like, and she did it in oil paint, which is very hard to do. So I in no way want to put her down or anything. She spent a lot of hours working on those paintings, and they are very, very pretty. But then there was an underdog in class who I don't think he got as enough recognition because he did this little series of almost comic-like sketches where he made himself as like a little character.
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about. And he was going through like this forest and walking around these little creatures
it was very
and stuff.
emotional.
It was very emotional, and for him, it probably means
The world.
means a lot to him, and he is the only one that probably knows the exact meaning of every little line, of every little comic portion of the thing. But to me, like I liked it because to me, it felt like how anxiety feels and how it feels to be that kind of like, I guess, lonely, and it may be something totally different for him, but that's
what it read to,
how it felt for me, and that made me want to hug somebody or cry. Made me want to hug him because I was like, okay, well, if you're feeling the way that your art is, then I'm sorry.
I guess in the art history world, it's the same thing. It's hard to talk about it in the sense of people that are living now and people who are making art now because it feels so subjective and so rude almost. But when you're talking about an art history sense, there are people who don't like Van Gogh. There are people who love Van Gogh. There are people who don't like Baroque because it's not as technically up to date as it is nowadays. Like in Baroque art, there are people who are floating because they didn't really know how to draw, how to paint shadows and stuff. But to me, it's amazing because it shows that progress. There are some people who don't like Rococo because French aristocraticness is gross to them. But I think it's
I love Rococo.
I love Rococo. It's so silly.
See, and that's the thing too. Like, art doesn't just have to make you feel sad. Like, I like sad stuff. Like,
but Rococo's so frilly and silly.
Yeah, but then there's art that makes you want to like laugh and
like
even
sad. But.
Yeah, there is some sad. But I like the silliness and the
pastels and just things can speak to you in different ways.
Like Mab Graves. Like, I know you don't necessarily like her
I'm not
style,
a big Mab Graves
but
fan.
I like it because it seems whimsical and I like the colors and the prettiness.
See, to me it feels like a what's the word? It feels like something that she keeps going back to. Like the having the characters and having it be a not fairies, what's the right word? Fantasy type stuff. It's like to me, it reads more as like a crutch, but that's just my opinion. I'm also not into fantasy stuff. I've said 5,000 times, I love realism. Like, of course, fantasy stuff and little caricatures.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other people
thing.
who do art similar to Mab Graves. Like, there's the Big Eyes movement, and there's tons of people who do art like that. Mm-hmm. But I think she's done a good job of making a name for herself.
I think she's done a fantastic job of making a name for herself. I don't want to discredit that.
Yeah, and I think, and I see on her Instagram the time and effort she puts into her work, and I enjoy that. Like, I like work ethic, and I personally like it because she'll leave these like little Instagram posts talking about each little character in the painting and what they're feeling and stuff. And I think that's fantastic.
That is cool.
I don't think I would necessarily, like, if I was lucky enough to own one of her paintings, then yeah, I guess I would probably hang it up. But I wouldn't decorate like she decorates. Like I wouldn't pick those colors in my home or anything. But
you can appreciate it from
But
someone
I can
else.
appreciate that she cares so much about it and like each little character and when she's sitting there and painting, like, if you watch her videos, like, it's like each little tiny detail and like you can barely tell anything's being done on the painting because her brush strokes are so tiny.
That is really cool. See, well, that's where even we differ. Even though we're best friends and we have similar art techniques, if you were to see a Chuck Close piece in person, I don't know if you'd be like, Mazzy, that's cool, but like, I don't.
No, I've seen Chuck Close. I can appreciate Chuck Close.
But yeah, but it's like I don't know if it would
I don't
give the same
appreciate,
response when I
like,
see his
you.
when I see his stuff. I'm like, how the fuck did he do that? And it boggles my mind, and I have to like sit and think for like 30 minutes, like it's a whole deal. But like some people could be like, oh my god, it looks like a picture, cool.
But that's the beautiful thing about art, and we're super artsy. Like even writers and movies, and I love stories. I love storytelling. I love making up stories. I love hearing stories. That's why I love movies so much. I love reading, and I love fiction, horror movies, anything that can make my heart kind of just like jump, like. Even if it's just making me happy, I love it. I think that's why I love
when
Harry
you
Potter
get
so much.
You know when you get a personal response to something. And to go back to the kids in class, I think what we were trying to say too is that there are probably kids all over the world that feel like that have the kid in class who gets all the recognition, and you yourself feel like you're making so much progress and no one's really telling you about it. But then at the end, if you have like what happened to us, we did get recognition in the end. Your family talked about how much they liked your pieces, and you got more validation than you thought you were going to get. But you thought at the time that they were going to hate it, and then at the end you got more validation than you thought you would.
My dad was, most of my mom's side, they don't really get it.
Nah.
I think maybe
Dava gets it.
Yeah.
Dava gets it.
Yeah, Dava gets it.
We're going to shout out Dava as much as we can, because now we know she listens.
But, and then my dad, he's pretty much the same person as me. Like, he's always got everything I'm into. And I think he got the paintings. And honestly, for him, I think the paintings, and like I said, the scene that I directed, like those were like me saying something to him is how he took it. So I don't think he would take my paintings and hang them up in his house. I don't think most people would. I don't even hang up my paintings in my house. I have
paintings hung up at my place that are yours. I have your pieces. We have a lot of each other's artwork.
What do you have on?
I have your I have a sperm that you made for me.
Do I?
Yes.
Or do you?
I have a Christmas sperm.
Oh, yeah.
She made me a Christmas sperm.
Yeah, I made like a little sperm with a Santa hat.
But, no, like, Santa sperm.
Wait, do you hang it up for Christmas?
Santa spermy, yeah.
Oh, do you want, here, go get that, we'll show them.
Which one?
There's that blue little frame. Get that, you'll probably enjoy this a lot. Well, Mazzy will enjoy it.
Oh, it's spermies!
Yeah, so
we're gonna show the internet.
I don't know if let's
wait,
see.
click on this part. Oh, what'd you do?
I don't know. I messed it up.
There we go.
But yeah, I
Little sperm.
made paintings like this my whole senior year of high school. And that was kind of my style. Sperm and fetuses but I've always been kind of fascinated by the reproductive system. Like,
True.
It's weird, but like human anatomy and the reproductive system. I have a book on diseases, just because.
You do have a book on diseases,
yeah.
Just because why not? Well, I don't know. I think we ended up getting the validation that we wanted in the end. I mean, I've never been.
Congratulations to us too, because this was such a rocky start.
Oh my god!
Our podcast, and then we went into like this big, beautiful topic.
Is it bad that
maybe people might get pissed off at us?
I don't know if they'll get pissed. Hopefully people will just be like, "Oh, I'm an art kid. I feel the same way," or no one will hear it and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
No,
and like I said, if any of the art people in class are listening, I'm not putting any of you down. Like, I enjoyed that class so much, and I still miss it. And I enjoyed watching each and every person.
Well,
I think everybody grew in that class,
and
too.
they probably know that they have personal feelings about your art or my art or everyone else's art. Like, if you are a true artist or a true art kid, you know that you either get a calling to something or you don't. But I don't know. I feel like in the end, everyone got the recognition they wanted. I've never been a good student, so the fact that I got a good grade and that I did well was all I really needed, you know. And I needed it for college, so it worked out.
Well, and I try to view all art like Bob Ross views art.
Happy little
Like,
trees.
like, yeah, and that's what I like too with Bob Ross. He had very, they're landscapes,
I want to do a
and-
Bob Ross podcast.
Yeah, maybe a Bob Ross.
We'll
podcast.
do a pod where we listen to Bob Ross and try to talk while we do a Bob Ross painting.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
gonna be a
That's
fuck
gonna
show.
That's gonna be awful.
Then do it.
But no, back to what I was saying. Bob Ross, like, he just did landscapes. Like, that's nothing spectacular.
But it's everything.
Or new. But just because you're sitting there watching all the work and effort he puts into them and how happy he is while he's doing it and how much he cares for each little bird and each little branch
each little
and
tree,
happy little trees,
happy little bush.
that's what I look for. Like, so maybe even with the artist that I was naming, maybe just because I didn't really know her story or see her as she was doing
Maybe it was super personal and just didn't want to talk about it. Sometimes I feel like with art you get a block. Like, so you have an idea that's super hyper personal, but you don't ever get to the... But maybe, like, it's super personal to her, but we've never gone through it. So, or you've never gone through it. So to you, it didn't resonate because you were like, I've never had that happen to me. Same thing for her. Maybe she didn't get your stuff because she'd never been through what you had been through, so to her it didn't read. Like, we're not trying to say that any of these people are bad. It has nothing to do with bad or good. Everyone's technique is different. Everyone draws and paints differently. It's just...
I think that's what makes art so complicated.
To some people, this is gonna be weird because they don't, because they have no idea why you would want to paint sperm. And some people are gonna be like, "That's awesome." My
boyfriend does not understand why I have a painting of sperm, and it's not on the wall.
Well, one of our best friends thinks every drawing that I do is creepy, and he's not into it. But he'll always tell me, he's like, "You're a great I'm gonna put Eli on blast." He's always like, "You're a great artist."
Eli, you suck.
But then he'll be like, "But I want you to know that scares the shit out of me." And I'm like, "Thank you, Eli. That means I did a good job." Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just...
Oh, yeah. I had somebody walk up to me during one of our viewings of the art and stuff, like one of our reviews. Because what we did when we did our reviews, she would have us all set up our paintings on, or our art pieces on, like, display. And we'd all go around the tables and look at the art, and then we would either write comments down or tell the artist to their face what we thought of the paintings. And
sometimes it gets brutal, man.
Yeah, because one kid came up to me and he was like, "Your paintings make me want to vomit, but in a good way."
Yeah. So, like, thanks, man.
And like, And it also just judges on how thick your skin is, because I think if you had told Van Gogh that, he might have cried.
I mean, probably.
But maybe. Me, I was like, thank you.
Thank you, I love vomit. Alright, well, shoot, is this us wrapping this thing up? Because I gotta pee again. I'm gonna ruin your toilet.
If you have to pee, how long did we talk?
We talked for...
36 minutes?
We have 11 minutes before that, so we talked for 50 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We're done.
That's pretty short for us.
True, but...
Sorry that this was a rough roller coaster ride of us not being awake.
I'm looking
at myself.
I'm looking at you, too. Like, we're both just gonna look at you. No, Bye.
No, not bye. Thank you for listening. Subscribe if you want.
Oh, you're better at this than I am. Keep going.
Sorry if we insulted you. That was not our goal.
Welcome to the shit show.
We're leaving the shit show.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm ready.
We can't do outros yet.
No, bye.